Okay, so I apologize. I still haven't got the microphone set up, but we're going to do some additional stretches today, but down here on the ground and reclining. So kind of stretching through our hips and our hamstrings, but down here on the ground. So be sure that your legs are warm. So maybe go for a walk or hop on a treadmill or an elliptical, or do something that'll warm up your legs before you move into a stretch. You can also use this as a pre-stretch to your exercise, but just be very mindful to not push too far if your muscles are cold. We don't want to tear anything. So let's recline, and we'll start with just a knees to chest. Now I also like to do more of a reclined child's pose here. So pulling the knees over towards the shoulders, separating the knees, and maybe keeping the toes to touch. Especially if you're externally rotated, this will probably feel better on your low back and back of the pelvis. And let's keep the right knee in, let the left leg go down. I'm gonna position myself a little bit more on, there we go. Pull that right knee in all the way to the chest. You can always bend this left leg too. That'll help to release any pressure on the back. And let's just straighten that right leg up towards the sky. You can't really see my foot, but we're just gonna point and flex the foot up here. And you can put that leg wherever you feel, just a very gentle stretch. We don't want it to be intense, just very gently. And then just hold. Maybe straighten that other leg and hold it just off the mat. So it's kind of engaging through that thigh. Now we're going to lift the chest up off the ground and just reach towards the left toes. And release it back down, draw that knee back in. Let's keep that leg bent and just pull it to the right side. And again, this leg can be straight or bent. Now if that feels good, let's bring it back to the center, straighten the leg, and then take that straight leg out to the side. And again, this leg can be straight or bent. Now here, don't be too concerned about this left pelvis. Some say keep it on the ground. If you're a dancer, you might want to keep it on the ground and push that right leg to the right. If you're really just looking for an inner thigh stretch, don't worry about what the left side of the body is doing. Just go till you feel a nice stretch on that inner thigh. Right? As long as it's not causing pain elsewhere. Right, the goal here is just to stretch the muscles. We're not too concerned about form as long as we're being safe. Bring it back to the center. Let's go ahead and cross that right ankle across the left thigh. And we can stay right here, pressing that right knee away. Or we can lift that leg up. We can even grab underneath. My right hand is going through, my left hand is going behind, grabbing the back of that left thigh. And you can pull that leg in. This is my not so great hip, so I can't quite go very far here. If you want to extend this leg up, you can as well. And we're going to release. We're going to take this right leg all the way up and over, crossing the thighs. Think of your eagle pose, so think of internally rotating those thighs. You can even wrap that foot around the calf if you want. Now we're going to shift the hips over to the right and then drop the knees to the left for a twist. Good. And back to the center, knees to chest. Let's go ahead and take a gentle bridge here. Again, that helps to create some symmetry and helps to realign the pelvis if it happens to come out, especially when we're doing asymmetrical movements. Knees come back in. Let's keep the left knee in, right leg goes down this time. And we want to really feel that leg at the point of compression. So you want to really pull it all the way in, pushing those bones together. And straighten that left leg, point and flex the foot on this side. So point and flex, point and flex. Really just working through the calf and through the ankle. And then pause and stretch. Again, wherever you're most comfortable. Gentle hamstring. You can always soften that knee too. right? We're still gonna get the hamstring stretch. We don't have to have it straight or all the way straight. We always like to keep a slight micro bend anyway, just to avoid the tendency to hyperextend, which is when the knee pushes past that center vertical line. So we lift the other leg up. If that feels good, the chest lifts up, the arms reach. Release it down, and let's bring that knee back in. Let's take that knee out to the side. Check in how it feels. Bring it back to the center. Let's straighten it out, and if it feels good, you can maybe straighten that leg or go back to the bent leg option. Bring that back to the center. Let's go ahead and bend that leg. Bend the right leg, place the ankle across the thigh. Gently press into that knee. We should get a little hip stretch here. If this feels good, let's bring that opposite leg in. So we should begin to feel this around the outside, through the hips, maybe through the piriformis, through the gluteus, right? Maybe your rotators, depending if you're sore anywhere. Release. Let's take that leg all the way up and over. Shift the hips to the left and drop the legs to the right. And bring them back to the center. Knees to chest. And little bridge here. And release. Let's roll over onto our bellies. And we'll just pause right here in a little Sphinx pose for a moment. Maybe wiggle your hips. Now you can stay propped up on your elbows. We're going to stretch the quads, so you can either stay propped up or you can release it all the way down, whatever's more comfortable to you. But we're going to go ahead and bend that right leg, reach that right arm back for the foot or the ankle, and pull the heel in towards your bum. Now once we're here, I want you to press your pelvic bone into the mat. So descend your tailbone towards your left heel, right? So we want to lengthen the tailbone and press our pelvis and our pubic bone, press it into the mat. That's going to activate the front of that leg, and as we stretch, we can pull that heel towards our bum, get a little bit more into that quad. Nice, slowly release, and then we're going to switch sides. Left leg comes in, reach back. So sometimes we have to splay that knee out in order to grab hold of the foot. Once we do, just bring those knees back together, right? Keep the knees in alignment, protect that joint. And then again, heel towards bum, and then descend the tailbone and press the hips into the mat. And slowly release. Let's do that one more time. The quads are a hard muscle to stretch, so we want to make sure that we take the time to give it the ample attention. We often stretch the hamstrings, or we stretch it just during the day by bending forward or reaching for something, but we often forget about the front of that thigh. So remember, we want to have a nice even body, both in strength and in flexibility. So be sure to strengthen both your quads and your hamstrings and stretch both. And one more time on the left side. and release. Now let's do just a little down dog to stretch the calves, and then we'll come back down to the floor. So maybe move it into an up dog and then a down dog. Right, so be mindful, our upward facing dog we can always modify with the knees down, but the pelvis is lifted, the knees are lifted, we're on the tops of the feet, the shoulders are away from the ears, and the heart's pulling forward. And then downward facing dog, we'll flip the toes over. I'm very slippery on this mat. And press the heels down. Let's just alternate and pedal those feet, stretching the calves. And then both heels press down. Let's drop into a child's pose. Knees come down. Remember, separate those knees, let the belly rest between the thighs. And really settle your hips here towards your heels. You really want to release the back of the pelvis into the hip joint. And let's walk our hands back up. Actually, we're not going to go back down. We're going to stay up. We'll bring our knees together, just a little extra stretch here. We'll stretch the front of those ankles just by lifting those knees up. Be sure that the ankles and the knees still touch, right? We don't want anything to splay, causing any discomfort on the joints. Bring the knees down. We can walk the hands back. And then from here, slightly squeeze your glutes and descend your tailbone to the back of your knees. That's going to activate the front of the legs. If you need to lift your hips up, you can, but you don't necessarily have to if we just activate through the pelvis. So my whole pelvis went and rotated like that. Right? Nice, slowly release. Let's just come to seated. Right, and let's just bring our soles of our feet together, bound ankle pose. And just allow your hips to relax. We'll take just a couple of breaths here. See if you can relax your knees a little further away from your body. And let's just slowly come to an easy cross-legged pose, whatever that is for you. A little out of the window, sitting up nice and tall. Just relax through your legs. This is my not so great hips, that's why it's a little higher. So I kind of prop my foot underneath it just to avoid any compression there for me. But if you can have both feet just completely free, like going like this, one in front of the other, do that. A couple of deep breaths. And just relax everything from the top of the head. Imagine that waterfall, like trickling from the head down through the shoulders, all the way down to the arms, washing over your body, down through your hips, through your knees, all the way out your feet with each breath. And just feel the back of the pelvis, those sit bones, those two bony processes sticking out the back of your pelvis. Feel those rooted into the mat or into the floor or chair or wherever you're seated. Pulling up the good energy from the earth through your sit bones as we breathe in. And then allow that goodness to wash over you as you exhale. Let's take a deep breath in. Let it out with a sigh. Hands to heart center. And I honor the place in you where the universe resides, that place of love, light, peace, and truth. And when you are in that place in you and I am in that place in me, there is only one of us. Namaste.